Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Roots and Wings. I'm Melanie Little. Today, I get to brag a little because we have an amazing Fox Hill School alum with us. Grace Sanders is a clinical dietitian at Newton-Wellesley Hospital, a registered dietitian at Nourish, and she holds a bachelor's degree from Stonehill and a master's degree from Boston University. Welcome, Grace.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. I'm so excited to talk about my Fox Hill alum because I claim you all. So tell us a little bit about your journey from Fox Hill to where you are now.
Yeah, started my education at Fox Hill School, and that gave me a great foundation. Went through the Danvers public school system, and I actually always wanted to be an early childhood teacher from
I
a pretty
remember
young
that.
age. Yeah, I always wanted to do that. So I started at Stonehill going for early childhood education. And about halfway through, COVID happened. And so I had a lot of time on my hands to sit and think about, like, what do I want in my life? And
Yes.
as many people did, I feel like we all got new hobbies or got interested in different things. And so I got really interested in exercise and nutrition for myself. And I was spending all of my time researching things and learning things. And I was like, what if I do this in school so that I'm not spending all my personal time looking up these things and trying to learn more? And why don't I go get an education for it and try to help other people as well? So I switched over to a health science degree, and they
Oh,
really helped me get through that program in the last 2 years of my undergrad. And then I went to
wow.
Boston University for a master's in nutrition and dietetics, and spent the last 3 years getting through that program and my internship, and then finally passed all my exams and whatnot to become a
Gosh.
dietitian. So it's a long journey, but I'm very happy.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a lot of schooling. And I'm so impressed that you did that all through COVID. And, everybody hit COVID at a different stage of their life. And that I
Yeah,
can't even imagine at the college
yeah, it,
time.
it kind of came at the best time for me. Well, not great in college, I guess, but gave me some time to reflect on what I really do want for our future. Because I feel like it's really
Yeah,
challenging when you're 18 years old deciding on what you want to do. And so that was
100%.
yeah, it ended up working out well for me because everything just stopped, and I was like, all right, now I need to figure out what do I want to do and see if I can actually make this change. And I'm so glad I did. And everyone was more than supportive at Stonehill for helping me switch over, which was really what I needed at the time.
Awesome.
And the wonderful thing is that nutrition wise, in my current career, I get to combine working with kids, which I always wanted to do, and the nutrition that I care about so much, and kind of do a little bit of both. So it worked out.
That's so awesome. That doesn't always work out that way. So that is wonderful. Tell us what a typical day is like at the hospital versus at Nourish. I don't really know much about that program.
Yeah, so at the hospital, I'm a clinical dietitian, and it was actually where I did a lot of my training in my master's degree. So I work at Newton-Wellesley Hospital, and we see patients of all sorts of backgrounds and ages and disease states. And so in one day, I could see all the way from a 3-year old that's not eating because they're sick to a teenager eating disorder patient to a 85-year-old with heart failure. So it really is a
Oh,
wide
wow.
range, and kind of
Wow.
giving different diet education and helping everyone get on a good path in the hospital so that when they leave the hospital, they know what they should be doing to hopefully prevent coming back to us in the hospital. At least from a nutrition standpoint is
Right.
what I can help with. And
Yes.
then at Nourish, I do more of outpatient counseling. So I work with all the way from parents with young kids to women going through menopause, and kind of how we can optimize their nutrition. So I do a wide range there, kind of focusing more on the woman's health side of things as well.
Nice.
But yeah, so I kind of get a little bit of the inpatient and then outpatient both in my day-to-day routines now. And so it keeps things interesting. You never know what you're going to get in the hospital. Every day's a new day.
Yeah.
So, and then my Nourish patients I have on a weekly or biweekly basis. So those are a little bit more
Oh,
long-term relationships versus the kind of short-term in the hospital. But I love both. Honestly, I get great experiences both ways.
wow. That is amazing. What a great mixture.
Yeah,
Keep
it
everything
really is.
interesting.
Yeah, and I never feel like I have a dull moment, especially in the
Oh,
hospital, but with Nourish as well.
that's awesome. Wow. Well, all right. Now let's get to the part that parents are always asking me about, which is kids and food. I was in the clean plate club growing up, not a thing anymore, thank goodness. And because it did not serve me well later on. What is the approach now with kids?
Yeah, so it is challenging as every parent's probably going to be like, "Yeah, hi, like help, I don't know what to do." And because it's really
Exactly.
hard because as you know, as a early childhood educator and as a mom, it's so challenging because you can try to do all the right things and it's just you're living your day-to-day life. Sometimes you're thriving, sometimes you're surviving, and sometimes these things are not where you have a lot of energy to put towards feeding and nutrition and focusing on the important things. You just want to make sure they're getting through as you are. So it's really
Exactly. They have
hard. And
clothes on.
yeah, just like I got to get them to school, I got to get myself to
Yeah.
work. Like I
Right.
can't think about anything else. So it's really hard. But a lot of people did grow up, like you said, with that clean plate club mentality, which
Ugh.
for little kids, it's hard because we're all born with the innate ability to know when we're hungry and full. As a baby, you cry when you're ready to feed and then you kind of stop and you're done. And no one's saying, well, keep feeding because you're not done yet. Because we all know that we trust babies have their intuition. They know when they want to eat and when they don't. But as we get a little bit older, as a toddler, and we start going to school, we have these set times, and it's kind of our parents are like, well, it's breakfast. You have to eat before you go to school. And then you have lunch at school. And then you come home and it's like, it's dinner time. And then it's kind of gets all confusing. So kids are like, but I might not be hungry now, or I might not want this right now. And it gets really hard. And as you know, some of that normal development as a kid is to want to say no to everything that your parents say and to want to have that struggle. So feeding times can be really challenging. And there's a concept called the division of responsibility. And I love this idea because it hopefully will take some stress off meal times if you are able to put your trust in your child, which can also be hard. So what the division of responsibility is that it says that or as parents, you are deciding what and when your child's eating, but they
Okay.
decide how much. So
Oh.
you can put a plate out, hopefully at either like a family meal time or at
Mhm.
school, kids are all eating at the same time, and they can pick, how much they're eating on that plate. Some days they might not really be hungry. Some days they might eat their whole plate and then ask for more, but that's their responsibility. You already did your responsibility. You said, okay, we're sitting down for our meal. Here's your plate. We're going to have this, this, and this as a family. And then it's up to them. And try to avoid the things of, okay, one more bite, or you got to finish that before you get up,
Ah.
because they intuitively know, as we do as babies, when they're hungry, when they're full. Sometimes power struggles can come up. And so it kind of can take all that away. And it can be hard because you're like, if my kid's not eating, you're like, well, now I'm stressed. They're going to be
So
hungry, or they're going to
stressful.
be, yeah, it's so stressful. But if you can alleviate that stress for yourself and know that when they are hungry, they're going to eat, they will do it. So that can kind of be a approach that can be helpful, one for alleviating stress for parents on meal times, because you just know, okay, I'm going to feed them this. If they don't eat, or if they only eat a few bites, that's their body's way of telling them I've had enough. And then you can say, okay, if you're all done, then that's fine for now. We'll put this in the fridge, and if you need something later, that's what we're going to have, because that's what we ate as a family. And just kind of
Okay.
taking away any punishment with it. It's okay, not judging
Or
any sort of thing.
and I
And
think a lot of parents fall into the, "Oh, I'll give them chicken nuggets because I know that they will eat it, and then at
hmm
least they have food."
hmm
As opposed to, this is the healthy meal we're all eating,
hmm
but they say, "I just want them to eat something,"
yeah,
which seems like, as a parent, I've done it. It
hmm
seems like, "Oh, I'd rather have them eat something than nothing."
yeah,
But what you're saying is maybe that's not the approach anymore.
yeah. What I think is important is that, like, they will eat something when they're ready, and sometimes they're not ready when we think they should be ready, or what we think they should be, the amount that we think they should be eating. So that's kind of an approach that can be helpful. One, like I said, for taking off that stress of meal times, and two, also for building a healthy relationship to food and to their bodies, because that is something that really does start from that young age that will then carry them through the rest of their life.
Yeah, that's true. If you start out at a young age and it's a struggle, it you don't want to en- encourage or reinforce that poor relationship with food that they'll carry forward.
Yeah, and it can be really hard because then as they get older and then they're confused. I don't know when I'm hungry. I don't know when I'm full because I was always told you have to finish this in order to get up from the table or in order to get a dessert. Another approach that can kind of seem a little crazy to some parents at first is when you are deciding that, that division of responsibility, you decide what to eat and when, putting out your balanced plate of whatever your family's eating. And maybe if the incentive is always to, I have to finish my plate to get dessert, maybe a cookie goes on the plate and it's not looked at as a good or bad thing.
Ah,
It's just with all the other foods, trying to be neutral with all the different foods is something that I think is also super important for that relationship with food in your
ah,
body. And if that's what they choose to eat first, not making a big deal about it, not acknowledging that, and just kind of letting it be. This food's really yummy. We like this sometimes. This food is good for our brains. This food helps our muscles grow. And this food might make our heart really happy. And all foods kind of having neutral versus a good and bad and saying, well, don't eat that first because you have to eat this first. Because then it creates these conceptions of what's good and bad versus just all foods can fit in our life. We know, we'll eat when we're hungry and we'll stop when we're full. And there's a chance that it might vary day to day, but at the end of the day, they will eat when they're hungry and they will stop when they're full. And sometimes they
right.
just know better than us, even though that
Wow.
feels really crazy.
It does kind of feel crazy. And I'm thinking how if I love I'm putting everything on the plate and you decide in what order you're going to eat it because it is pretty arbitrary that you have the sweet stuff last. But so what do you have a strategy if you do that and they only eat the cookie
Yeah.
at
So
that mealtime?
sometimes that might happen,
Yep.
but as the parent too, and that's a hard thing to wrap your brain around. Sometimes that
Yeah.
might happen. And when trying to build this healthy relationship with food and their
Mhm.
bodies, keeping things super neutral. So not giving into your knee-jerk reaction, which is like we grew up being told, don't have this or don't have that or eat this first and whatnot.
Yes.
So kind of removing any ideas we have innate about food and what's good or bad or healthy or unhealthy, and just trying to kind of let them follow their body's cues because eventually they will follow what we think is quote unquote correct, but it might take some time to get there. And it
Okay.
just is more of a journey. And the younger that they are that you can start doing that, they might not even know that this cookie is the biggest incentive or whatever. They might not know. It's just, oh, a cookie's on my plate with my broccoli, with my, potatoes, with my, you know, chicken or
Chicken?
whatever you're
Yeah.
having. And it's
Yeah.
just no different than any other food. They all they all serve different purposes for us. But taking away, well, this is a good food and this is a bad food, because if they know that, kids always want to go with the thing that we don't necessarily want
Of,
them to be having. So
of
trying at a
course.
younger age to start that, letting them kind of choose what their body wants. And you might notice after time and time of doing this, they're only taking a bite of the cookie and they're having a few bites of the chicken and then a few bites of the potatoes. And maybe they're not going to have broccoli, but maybe the next day they eat all the broccoli and only a bite of the cookie and a bite of the chicken. And it'll kind of, their bodies will work out what they're craving when they're
Okay.
naturally able to listen to these cues. But like I said, it's really
Ah,
scary because that's not what we have been told is quote
right.
unquote normal. So it's a huge mindset shift, I think, for parents. And when you're
Absolutely.
really starting to get kids involved and interested in nutrition or nutritious foods without labeling them as, oh, I really want you to eat these, having kids be involved in cooking and prepping where they are able to be is
Mm,
also a really beneficial idea too. And that's also can be challenging when parents are so busy, but
right.
um, trying to get kids involved through like a play-based approach as you do for everything when they're learning at that age.
Yeah.
Same way for nutrition. having them
Oh, I
play
love that.
with foods or getting them involved in your prepping, whether it's washing your lettuce or washing your berries or anything that they can kind of do will help to ex- excite this
Yeah,
interest in food and nutrition. And that can be a really helpful thing as well.
I love it. That's so great. I know we have one family that I sit when I'm sitting having snack with her. She says, "I cut these cucumbers myself," and the mom gave her they have these cool plastic. They actually really do cut well, but she can't cut herself, and she
Hmm.
cuts up her own snack. I was like, "Okay, that's
Yeah.
amazing." She's eating the cucumbers, so
Yeah. When they're involved, they're going to be more inclined to want to eat these things. And so, as
yeah,
you know, like learning through play is how they learn at these young ages. So, finding ways to incorporate that into cooking and eating and nutrition will just help them in the long run get more interested in that as well.
I love it. That's so great. So it's not playing with the food, it's the kind of more the prepping of the food is the play.
Yeah, yeah, the prepping or just exploring different things with your kids, like exploring different things sensory wise, like, oh, is that crunchy? Is it smooth? What color do you find in there? When you bite it open, what does that look like? Or, oh, can we make, bell pepper bracelets and we put them on our wrist? Ooh, that's fun. Now we want to eat the bell pepper and getting them to eat
Ah,
things in different ways and getting them interested so that they want to eat these foods because you're talking about it and exploring it and potentially having them involved in prepping it. So now they're like, okay, I did all these things. Like, I want to try that now. My parents are
yeah.
trying that now. I'm interested in what it's all about. Like, now I'll eat it. And so
Huh.
that can kind of be helpful as well. And then they don't really know that that's what the idea behind it is. It's just fun and
Right,
it's
right.
play and it's getting excited about new experiences and new things.
Now that you say that, my brother and I, one of my favorite things, we put black olives on our fingertips and then
Yeah.
eat them this way. And black olives are one of my favorite foods now. So didn't
Exactly,
even
yeah.
ever put those two things together.
Yeah, and, like, making those little things fun as a kid, like, now you said that's one of your favorite
Yeah.
foods, and it probably
Yes.
started from when you were playing with it and eating it that
Right.
way. Yeah,
Exactly. I had never even put those two things two and two
yeah,
together.
yeah,
Oh my goodness. Well, do you have any favorite phrases or tricks to keep meal times positive?
yeah. Well, I think that, like I said, kind of taking a more neutral approach to food can keep meal times positive and help build that healthy relationship as we had mentioned. So, saying all foods fit, they might help our bodies in different ways. Talking about what the foods do for us versus saying that they're a healthy or good or bad or unhealthy food. And so saying, like I said, that chicken's going to help build our muscles stronger. This milk is going to help build our bones stronger. These vegetables are going to help make your brain really strong so it can learn all the new things in school. So saying things in that way or saying, this ice cream is really yummy and that's just going to make us happy tonight and we're going to share it as a family because it makes us happy, but not attributing any positive or negatives, just saying how they all have a role and we can have these things all at different times and that's okay. Another thing to get them curious and interested is asking questions to your kids after a meal time, saying, how does your tummy feel after eating that? Does your tummy feel full or does your tummy want a little bit more food? So just having them get in tune with these feelings,
Mm.
asking them what looks good to them today and maybe trying to incorporate what their choice would be in some way. If that's chicken
Ah,
fingers every day, okay, maybe we try to do that and then hope that after, a couple days, maybe it's something else. We know kids go through these waves with what they are interested in,
yeah.
what they love. They do it with toys, they do it with everything. So
Everything.
even if that feels a little crazy to be like, okay, we're
Yeah.
having dino chicken nuggets on our plate
Again.
every night, adding other components to the plate with what their choice may have been so that there's other foods that they
Oh,
can also try to incorporate. And it's also important to think about the fact that it oftentimes takes many exposures of a food before kids are enjoying it or interested in it. So if the first time you put a new vegetable on the plate, you put, zucchini down and they're like, I'm not touching that. Like, that's why, like, there's no way. That's okay. it goes back in the fridge if you want it later. If they don't, maybe a week later, it goes back on the plate. And over time, those more exposures will help get them interested in things. But like anything, even with adults, if someone gives us something where we're like, I don't know what that is, I'm not trying that. It takes sometimes multiple exposures and exploring things and talking about, oh, what color is on that? Is that soft on the outside or squishy? Like I mentioned, exploring things with different senses and
Hmm.
getting them interested in that way as well.
I like that. And I like how you're mentioning to explore at mealtime, like as a family. It's, we're all eating this. This is on all of our plates. And given that, would you also like if they do need to, if they're wanting to have those chicken nugget or something, do you like put that on everybody's plate so it's a choice for everyone? And as a parent, you could say, well, I'm not really interested in that, but I'm interested in this on my plate, and I'm going to leave that, not
Hmm.
because it's bad.
Hmm.
That's not what I'm choosing. And then
Yes.
everybody can kind of see this, like you're all, instead of I made those for you and I made this for daddy and I, or
Hmm.
whatever it may be. So everything's all the same. And then it's
Hmm.
just choices of what your body wants or
Hmm.
what you
Exactly.
feel like.
Yeah, definitely. That's exactly it. Putting things, even if like, I don't really feel like having dino chicken nuggets for dinner, put it on your
Exactly.
plate. And like you
Put
said,
one
like
on
you
there.
explained, maybe I don't feel like this tonight, but then your child doesn't think of it as like, oh, mom doesn't like this because it's bad for her. It's just she's not in the mood
Right.
for it tonight. And that's okay too. And maybe I won't be in the mood for it tomorrow night. But
Right.
kind of having family meal times are so important. There's so much evidence to show that social eating, especially at that family meal times, are so important. And it helps model for our kids what our relationship with food is going to inform what their relationship with food is. So it takes a lot of reflecting on our own experiences and kind of just doing those little mindset tweaks and tweaking how we word things so that, like you said, it's keeping it very neutral. We're all sharing the same foods because they do all different things for us, and we might be in the mood for something and not others. But at the end of the day, the division of responsibility that I talked about, like it's mom and dad's choice on what's being put on the plate, and then it's your choice on how much you eat, and that's okay. Even though inside, a lot of times you're going to be like, this feels
Ah,
so uncomfortable and so crazy, but it's
right.
just trusting that over time building up
Yeah.
these habits and these thoughts with your kids will really pay off.
I love it. I wish my kids weren't in college so I could try it with them.
Well, a lot of these things, I mean, back 20 years ago, it was just not, like you said
No.
earlier, everyone was
Mm,
kind of the clean plate club, and it was you have to
yeah.
finish your plate to get up.
Yep.
And that was just kind of what it was. And now the more we know
Yeah.
about just development in general and how our
Right.
brains wire and all that stuff, it all kind of comes into play.
Oh, well, this is such great advice. And I really think our parents are going to be able to, it's something we could try like tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
so useful. And I really appreciate you coming
Yeah. Of
on
course.
and
Yeah.
telling us all of this great information.
Yeah.
And
And one,
it's easy. It's not you're not telling us something that we have to, go study for 5 years like you
yeah.
did.
Yeah.
So thanks for
Yeah.
giving us the executive summary.
Of course. And I think it's also just so important as for parents too to just give yourself grace with everything. And so this is just another thing to give yourself grace on. It's not going to be perfect every day. Maybe
Right.
for, the next week you pick one meal to try it with and just
There we
slowly
go.
do habits because
Yeah.
you're not going to do an overhaul of your life all at once, but it's just those little
Right.
mindset shifts, giving yourself grace and little by little trying to instill those good things in your kids.
That's so amazing. Oh, love it, love it, love it. Well, you've been so informative and helpful. I have to ask, anything exciting coming up for you?
Like I said, I have the hospital and I have Nourish that I'm seeing patients with. So that takes up a good chunk of my time. I'm also trying to get more into the social media space, trying to share tidbits of nutrition education and information out there to make it accessible and practical and approachable to everyone because it can be
I
such a
love
daunting topic, whether you're talking about kids or adults. It's just so much goes into it, how we grew up, what we learn, what we see online, which right now is crazy. So trying to
Crazy.
trying to get out there a little bit and share some evidence-based and practical tips for people to help support everyone on their journeys, because it really is a journey for everybody.
Absolutely. Well, we'll definitely have to keep our eye on you because we'll have to link up to your social media so our parents can follow you as well.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Well, Grace, thank you so much for joining us and
Thank you
for
for
all
having
the
me.
amazing, of course, and all the amazing work that you're doing. I'm so proud. I mean, I just can see you sitting on the steps of the Fox Hill School still in your little dress and
I know, I
and
know.
then there you are doing this amazing stuff.
Yeah, I know. We have
So,
those
so
pictures
proud of you.
in our house of me and my siblings at Fox Hill, so it's time flies.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on. And thank you to everyone for listening. And don't forget, our Fox Hill School alumni are out there making a difference every day. So thanks for tuning in to Roots and Wings. And we will see you next time. Bye, Grace.
Bye.
Thank you.